Hello guys, today I'm going to be showing you my Virtual World deck. This is the exact deck list I played in the remote duel, but I sold most of the cards, which means Lulu, Zeus, the expensive stuff, because I want to wait and see what happens after the ban list to the deck, because if it gets hit really bad, the cards will lose all of their value, so I'm going to be showing you this online. So yeah, we play 3 Lulu. It has the basic Virtual World effect. You can target a Virtual World card on your field, send one card of a different type, so if you target a spell you can send either monster or trap from your deck, and then special summon that card, and then they have an effect. So Lulu's effect on summon is that you get to search a card of the third type. Roshi's effect on summon, oh these are both units. Roshi's effect on summon is that you can special summon a Virtual World monster from your graveyard. Nian Nian and Tutu don't have that effect. They aren't the normal summons of the deck. So Nian Nian, if you special summon a level 3 monster, you can, or normal summon a level 3 monster, you can special summon Nian Nian from your graveyard, but it becomes a tuner, and also it has to go to, you have to banish it when it leaves the field. And Tutu, even though she's level 6, you can normal summon her without tribute if you only control worm or psychic monster, or you control no monsters. Lily has the basic effect, and her summon effect is that you can send another card of the third type from your deck to the graveyard, so it's basically a double foolish. And Gigi has a Scarm effect, so during your end phase you get to add back a monster from your graveyard. We then play 7 hand traps. I play 3 Ash, 3 Gamma, and the Driver. I think they are just the best hand traps right now to play, and you don't really have to say much about those. And basically just play whatever hand traps you feel comfortable with, or whatever hand traps are best in your local meta. But I like to play these two. Then 3 Kowloon. Kowloon can, if you activate it, you get to activate 1 Virtual World spell or trap directly from your deck. So most of the time you're going to be activating Chuche so that you have it face up. And then it has another effect that doesn't really come into play that often, but basically depending on the amount of different Virtual World, not of different, but of Virtual World gate cards you control, you get other effects. So you get attack boost, you get to mill, and you can special summon monsters from your extra deck. King Long has the effect that you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, banish 1 Virtual World card from your graveyard, and then negate that monster's effects on the field for the rest of the turn. So that's pretty good. Going second, it can come in handy if your opponent has a very big problematic monster. And in the graveyard you can banish King Long to then search a Virtual World monster and discard a card. So it's pretty good in combination with Lulu. For example, you can target Chuche, search a monster, and send King Long, and then King Long can search you another monster. So that's a pretty good card. Always want to have that in your graveyard. 3 Desires just for consistency. You don't really have anything you're worrying about banishing. The only one of our Driver and Xuanwu, and if you banish the Driver, you're going first anyway, so that doesn't matter. And Xuanwu is not that an important card that you really worry about banishing it. Then we play 1 Foolish Burial Goods, just because it can fix a broken hand, but it's not that important that you want to play 3 of. You're mostly going to be sending King Long so that you can search. On some occasions, maybe you want to send that Chuche so that your combo has a better monster. The 1 E-Tally, you're going to be special summoning Nian Nian or Lulu if you need a tuner, and 1 Cobble the Grave. Don't have to explain that. Chuche has the effect on the field that you can target a monster your opponent controls, not a monster, a card that is face up. Shuffle back 2 of your banished Virtual World cards into your deck, and then destroy that card. And in the graveyard you can banish it and target a Virtual World monster you control and increase or decrease its level by 3. So you can increase your level 6 monster by 3 and then use it as material for VFD, for example. And then 1 Xuanwu on the field, the effect is pretty useless, but you get to change the battle position of a monster basically, but that doesn't come up very often. And in graveyard you can banish it, special summon a Virtual World from your graveyard, and then discard a card. So that can come in pretty useful, and if you need it you can send it with any of your Virtual World cards. For the side deck I run 3 Lancia because it's one of the best hand traps against Virtual World because they need to banish their Chuche, their King Long. They need to banish a lot of stuff, and if they can't, that's pretty bad for them. Roll and Lock, I feel, is a pretty good card against Drytron. It can also hurt Virtual World a lot. Cosmic Cyclone just for those back row decks. If you go second against one of them, you definitely want to have this. I play 3 Ghost Bell and 2 Ally because graveyard decks are pretty big. This is mainly against Drytron because they have a lot of light monsters that you need to get rid of. And Ghost Bell just for all of them graveyard decks that need to activate stuff in the graveyard. Also pretty good against Virtual World because if they, for example, activate a King Long, you can negate that with Ghost Bell. And then I play the 1 red reboot, mainly for Eldritch or any other trap deck. In the extra deck, I play the 1 Shen Shen. Shen Shen is basically a walking macrocosmos. Everything that would be sent from the field to the graveyard is banished instead, which is pretty good against combo decks that rely on the graveyard, so mostly all of the combo decks. And also it has recurrence, so if it's in your graveyard, except the turn it was sent there, you can banish 2 monsters in your graveyard and special summon it back. So it keeps you in the game. It's a pretty good card. You always want to at least have it in your graveyard, or sometimes even have it on your end board together with a VFD or something. We play the 1 Vermilion. You can banish a tuner from your graveyard and destroy a card on the field. Pretty straightforward. It's a rank 9, so if your opponent has problematic cards, you can make that and then destroy something and just put it under your VFD. The Croco Dragon, you get to search a card on summon, or if you use 2 non-tuners, you get to draw 2 cards. And then you can discard 2 cards and destroy a card, but that effect doesn't come up that often. You mostly just want to use it, draw, and then put it under your VFD. Cloud Castle is pretty good if you have a way to send one of your synchros to the graveyard, because then if it's a special summon, you can summon another level 9 monster out of your graveyard, so you basically have a free VFD. For the level 6 synchros, we have Coral Dragon. On summon, you can discard a card, on summon, sorry, once per turn, you can discard a card and destroy a card your opponent controls. And if it leaves the field, you can draw 1 card. Juju is mainly for field presence. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects while you have 2 more monsters in your graveyard. And it's just for the grindy games where you need to have a monster on the field. Stardust Charge Warrior. If it's summoned, you get to draw a card. That's all you need it for. The Ptolemy M7. You can detach an Xyz material and target a monster on the field or on the graveyard and return it to the hand. So sometimes you just want to shuffle one of your cards back from your graveyard or get rid of a problematic card of your opponent. That's a good way to go because you then can overlay Gaia, but we'll get into that. So Zeus, we know why we play Zeus. You can just detach 2 materials, wipe the entire board except for it, and you can do that as many times as you like per turn as long as you have materials. 2 VFD, don't play more than that. Most of the time you don't even want to put 2 in your field. Detach a material, declare a type. No activates of that type can be activated from your opponent, and all monsters on the field become that type. Pretty busted card. It is probably going to get banned on the next ban list. We play the 1 Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. It just takes 2 level 3 monsters, and you can make this as before your 5th summon, so it's good Nibiru protection because if a monster effect is activated, you can detach 2 materials and the effect becomes both players draw a card. So it makes you Nibiru proof, and if your opponent doesn't have Nibiru, it's still a monster negate on your field. With the 1 Gaia Dragon, Thunder Charger, you can put this over any rank 5 or 6 Xyz, so in this deck only rank 6, and that's the only thing you use it for because you put it over an Xyz monster with 2 materials, attack with it, and then go into Zeus so that you have 4 material under your Zeus. Fan is a good extender, and it's also field removal, and you can banish a card in your graveyard, which is pretty good. And if you send it to graveyard, you get to special summon 2 more monsters, but it doesn't come up that often. And the last card we play is Sacred Tree Beast Hyperiton. It's kind of a mechaba because during your turn, when you activate a card, you get to add a card of the same type. So if you activate a spell, you add a spell as material to it from your graveyard. And during your opponent's turn, if he activates an effect, you can detach the same card type and negate the activation. So that's a pretty good card. In summary, about this deck, I would say that it's right now one of the, if not the best deck. But we'll have to see what happens after the ban list. Maybe Hyperiton is enough to keep the deck going, even if something like VFD gets banned. If you want to invest in this deck, I advise you to wait after the ban list, because it's going to come pretty soon, and maybe the deck will be devastated. Who knows? Thank you for watching. I hope you leave a like and maybe subscribe to the channel. Check out my other deck profiles. Thank you.